Hello, friends. Today we are going to be reading The Rocket's Red Glare, written by Peter Alderman, illustrated by B. Moritz. This is celebrating the history of the Star Spangled Banner. Our national anthem is sung at sporting and military events all across the country. But have you ever stopped to think about what the words really mean? Who wrote the lyrics that so many Americans know by heart? Where did the author get the inspiration for this patriotic song? A trip back through history to the choppy waters of the Chesapeake Bay will reveal the answers to these and many more questions about our nation's song. In the early 1800s, Britain was at war with France. Britain decided to prevent the United States from sending goods to France by stopping and searching U.S. vessels bound for France. Many Americans were captured and forced to work on British ships. It was then that the U.S. President James Madison asked Congress to declare war on Britain. This became known as the War of 1812. By 1814, the war had found its way to the coast of the United States in the Chesapeake Bay. Waves splashed against the shore, and the sky above was blanketed with thick clouds as occasional rays of sunlight streamed through the mist. The small United States government boat, the Surprise, with the white flag of truce fluttering high from the center mast, knifed its way through the water. Francis Scott Key, a young Baltimore lawyer, never imagined that friendship, loyalty, or patriotism would place him on such a perilous mission. As the wave tossed their vessel, Mr. Key wondered if he and his friend, Colonel Skinner, could succeed in their mission. Their friend, Dr. William Beans, had been captured and was being held prisoner by the British forces. Armed only with courage and official papers provided by President Madison, Mr. Key hoped to negotiate for his friend's release. After all, Dr. Beans was not a soldier, but a private citizen. He had even entertained British officers of the flagship and had treated the wounds of some of the British military. However, those deeds might not be remembered with combat ready to erupt any minute. Mr. Key and Colonel Skinner were finally alongside the anchored British flagship, the HMS Tonnant. Their hearts beat with nervous anticipation. They climbed onto the ship's deck and were graciously received by Vice Admiral Sir Alexander Cochrane. The Admiral reviewed the papers carefully and agreed to allow Dr. Beans to go free, under one condition: that Mr. Key and his entourage promise not to go back to shore where they could warn the U.S. troops of the impending assault, but instead to take their sloop out of harm's way and wait until the battle subsided. The Admiral added that they should take a good look at their red, white, and blue flag, for they would not see it the next morning. Mr. Key and his companions boarded their craft and gazed at the U.S. flag waving over the fort. As their boat surged through the waters, away from the impending battle, they wondered if the Admiral would be correct, that they would not see their waving flag the next morning. Mr. Key feared for the soldiers at Fort McHenry. He feared for his brother-in-law who was stationed there. He knew that the fort was undermanned. He knew that warding off an assault by such a powerful British Navy would take great courage. All right, so here's part of our song. We're going to see each part. So the first part is, "Oh, say, can you see by the dawn's early light?" Sorry for my not being able to sing. An uneasy stillness hung in the quiet morning air. Then the loud thunder of cannons shook the bay. The British guns splashed rays of light into the awakening sky. The assault on Fort McHenry had begun. The U.S. flag waved proudly now. But would it still be there the next morning? What so proudly we hailed at the twilight's last gleaming. Mr. Key and his companions braced for the worst and hoped for the best as they watched Fort McHenry being attacked. The American flag, the pride of its countrymen, rippled boldly amidst clouds of smoke and the blasts of cannons. Whose broad stripes and bright stars through the perilous fight The shelling lasted all through the day and into the night. The British fired over 1,500 rounds at the fort. The assault was merciless. But there was still hope. Mr. Key and his friends could still see the stars and stripes flying bravely over Fort McHenry. O'er the ramparts we watched were so gallantly streamed. They gazed at the fort's defensive walls, or ramparts, as the shelling rained down. The flag, amidst the smoke, was gallantly streaming. Could the soldiers of Fort McHenry survive such a pounding? Would the admiral's words be true? Would they not see the flag at dawn? And the rocket's red glare, the bombs bursting in air. All through the night, rockets burst in the air, and bombs exploded with red blasts that lit up the sky. Then, as morning broke, the shelling finally subsided. A calm spread across the Chesapeake Bay. Coils of smoke enveloped the sky. Even with field glasses, nothing could be seen. The stench of spent gunpowder wove in and out of their heads. Finally, the smoke cleared enough to answer their question. Had the United States held its ground? Gave proof through the night that our flag was still there. The U.S. flag waved proudly over Fort McHenry. Mr. Key was filled with inspiration, for the flag was still there. In fact, an even bigger and brighter set of stars and stripes were flying proudly in the sky. The fort's commander, Major George Armistead, had ordered the stone flag, which was flying at the time of the attack, be replaced by the bigger garrison flag, proclaiming boldly and triumphantly that the United States had persevered.